Hi, I'm Sarah,
Hi, I'm Tess,
and together we are.
the Happy Edit Sisters. Happiness isn't just being happy, it's an embodied feeling that starts with how we approach life, our actions, and our mindset. Everyone has a range of emotions, and that is a good thing.
And we would love for you to come and join us as we dive into what it means to be happy and how we can build a foundation for happiness through different lenses.
I'm really excited to talk to you about this today, Sarah, because one of the things that we want to how we want to start this podcast is kind of giving you guys a foundation for what we think happiness is. So this is just a chat. This is just our points of view. By all means, if you have a different point of view, please let us know. Send us a message, either on our social media or to an email. But this is how we're kind of approaching what the foundation of happiness is. And we're excited to dive into it for you today.
Definitely. It's conversations that we've had lots and lots and lots of times. So we thought it'd be really exciting to share our thoughts with yourselves today.
Yeah. So what do you think is the key to happiness, Sarah? What do you think is that foundation?
So I think the key to happiness for me is about self-acceptance and being compassionate to ourselves, being compassionate to others as well, being kind, really being mindful of that critical voice that we have that might be on our shoulders. Quite often when I'm working with people, we refer to it as the poisonous parrot that might be kind of around, which
I love that
people really
term,
relate
the
to.
poisonous parrot. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, and there's lots and lots of resources out there that kind of that help in that process as well, which we could put a little link to down on the bottom,
Yes, we'll add that to the show notes.
in the definitely. But yeah, people really relate to the poisonous parrot, and something that it says is about having an antidote to that poisonous parrot and being able to it being there, we can hear it, it's there, but not giving it too much attention. And I think that's one of the key things to happiness is about kind of bringing your attention back to the things that bring you happiness.
I totally agree. It's so important that we start listening to how we're talking to ourselves. And I like that image of the poisonous parrot, because we do so often, we sort of parrot these things just back to ourselves, right? Whether it's, coming from our own limiting beliefs, or it's coming from the limiting beliefs of others that we're then repeating to ourselves, right? And it's just this poisonous negative self-talk that we just keep going back into. And from my perspective and from a more yogic perspective, like, we have a similar idea. We call it the chittavirti, which are like our perceptions, and these perceptions are, coming from our experiences. Are coming from how, what we've lived through, what other people have told us, and we kind of turn these into our own belief systems. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's part of life, right? But when we're able to kind of acknowledge, okay, this isn't helping me, then we can start to step out of that. And I think that that's really important. And I like this idea of like this like the image of the parrot, and like just putting like poison back into you. It's just such a cool image. You know me, I like imagery. So it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've got these cards, these wonderful empowerment cards. And one of the questions on those cards was, why do we keep things in our lives that don't serve a purpose anymore? And that's just what made me think about that as well, is that we have these things that influence our lives, and maybe shape our beliefs, and our experiences. And why do we keep those things that are not serving us anymore in our life, and the importance of so it's kind of having a little bit of a declutter sometimes, of going, actually that doesn't serve a purpose anymore, that doesn't serve a purpose anymore, and just kind of really attracting and bringing in those things in our lives that bring that happiness back into our lives again.
Yes, and right now it is spring. It's, well, actually, as we're recording it, it's the first day of April, right? So this whole idea of spring cleaning, which doesn't just have to happen in spring, but it's like that decluttering. It's taking out the things that we don't need anymore. It's like not seeing what's there and going, actually, that's not benefiting me, right? Whether that's thoughts, whether that's an old shirt that has lots of holes in it that you don't wear anymore. It's all of it's part of, I'm going to kind of take it into something a little slightly different. It's part of your self-study, right? It's part of like understanding yourself, as you were saying before, right? And knowing your why, right? Knowing what your dreams are, what you want your life to look like, and knowing also that we're all beings living in a human experience, right? So we all have our own things going on, and kind of understanding that we can wear all these different hats, we can play all these different parts in our life, but that doesn't make us, that's not necessarily the truth of us. The truth of us is that we're humans living in a human experience. We're beings, right? And so like that self-study of understanding what is important to me, what do I need, what do I not need, what can I declutter? I love that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like you say, with it being spring and kind of that bringing about something maybe new, doing something a little bit different, maybe something that we've maybe not done before, trying different things. I think is so important. I really do. It makes me think about the world that we're kind of in, and those social constructs that are within the world, and that social constructs are developed by man, aren't they? So those expectations, those beliefs, whether that's political, whether that's something like community based as well, expectations. And I think that's really important that we think about that, because how does that then impact on the world that we live in? And how does that restrict us from not being in the moment? Kind of the pressures that we feel. We I think we both live in a world, Tess, where we go all the time.
Yes.
We're quite driven. I think we're very driven.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think quite isn't high enough there. I think very driven, both of us. Yes, and for both of us, this has caused both of us problems, right? Like myself, like completely burning out, and having to pick myself like those pieces back up. And you watched me do that, right? Like it was painful. But I'm so happy that I am where I am now, right? But yeah, the social constructs of continuing to push yourself and just pushing past without thinking about how that's affecting you, and how, because of how you're being affected, how that's affecting those around you, right? And then it's kind of taking us back to that critical voice, right? Because when we don't do the things that we think we should be doing because of what our society is telling us, right, then that becomes this own little voice inside of you going, oh, well, you did that terribly, why didn't you do that right? Like you failed. I love this word fail, right? And it's such a big word, like fail these days, that we even have like YouTube videos and silly videos about people failing. But failing to me is if you don't even try. So if you're trying to do something and it doesn't work out, then you didn't fail. Maybe it didn't work, but you've learned something from it, right? You've learned,
Mhm.
okay, that wasn't the best way of going about doing it. Maybe I can try it a different way. Maybe I need a little help. Maybe that was the first time I tried it. And oh my goodness, the first time we do things, usually it doesn't work out exactly how we want it to work out. And that's
Yeah.
okay, you know? And so,
Yeah.
like, noticing that critical voice and saying, okay, wait, like, take a step back. Like, I'm not failing, I'm trying, and
Yeah.
I'm learning. And, you know, if I need a little help, then I need a little help. And that's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to take it another try at it, right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I can really relate to that, Tess, because in therapy, and not exclusively therapy, we'd kind of refer to it as reframing. So reframing that language, which again is socially constructed, isn't it? Language is socially constructed. Language means different things across different cultures, across different languages. And yeah, something that I work quite a lot with is that idea of failing, not being good enough. Um,
Me too. Yeah.
and and I, yeah, and it's just so important to think. I really like that idea that actually, well, if you feel that you failed with something, you've tried, you've really tried at doing that already, and sometimes it's just about going back to the plan, isn't it, and going, oh, what can I tweak, what can I do differently, and yeah, I don't know whether there is ever failure really in life. I think it's about trying.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's about going back to like what I was saying before about self-study, right? And like
Yeah.
learning that each of these things, each of these steps is an important step to make, right? Whether at the time it feels like it. Right. But then going back and thinking, okay, what did I learn from that? And then as you were saying, what is my why? What is my dream? What do I want from life? And then kind of shaping it, molding it in a way, shifting however you need to continue on that path of your why. And maybe that why changes. And I think this is also something really important. Like, we're not always going to have the same dream. When I was a kid, my dream was to become a veterinarian. I am not a veterinarian. And I'm very happily not a veterinarian, right? But that was my dream as a kid. So I was doing lots of things. I was working with horses, I was working on the farm. For all of those who don't know, I grew up on a sheep farm before we moved to Spain. And this it was a huge part of my life, and I wanted to learn all I could about it because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
vet. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, no, actually, that is totally not what I want. Right. And I mean, I have done so many
Mhm.
different things, right, in my life. And many times throughout my life, I'm like, why? What am I doing? Like, I've studied this, I've done that, and nothing seems to be coming together. Like, it's all just like these
Mhm.
random little juts out everywhere. And then now, in my mid 30s, I'm starting to realize actually all of those things, whether they seemed completely different at the time, they've all helped me get to the point where I am now. I couldn't be where I'm now if I didn't have those experiences before. Some of them were awesome experiences, some of them at the time were terrible. And I'm so
Yeah.
appreciative for all of them. And I'm also so appreciative for the people that I have in my life that have supported me along the way to get me to this point and to help me get to a point where I can have that time for that self-study and realize it's all been, it's all been the journey. And it's so important that we start realizing that our journey is what is important. It's not that end destination. So that end destination is great to like move us forward, but we have to be in the present moment and enjoy the journey.
Completely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, Tess. I think it's so important, that journey. And just as you were talking, then it reminded me, and maybe in other episodes we can think about this even more and kind of really kind of break down different techniques and strategies, but definitely being able to recognize the process that we're on as well. So recognizing, I kind of refer to it quite often in therapy, is to get to that, maybe that goal that we wanting to achieve to recognize those stepping stones that we have to go on to get to that end goal. And actually each one of those stepping stones is an achievement, is a goal in its own right. And we spend quite a lot of time sometimes reflecting back on, okay, so how far have you come in that time? Like, what have we achieved in that time? Not that end goal, because quite often that end goal, we push further and further up, don't we? And that end goal gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So actually recognizing those kind of smaller, you know, we refer to them sometimes as SMART goals, you know, to make sure that we kind of just recognize that and recognize those achievements. So I can definitely echo that.
And celebrate those achievements, right? Celebrate those benchmarks, those SMART goals. I love the term. Because we don't celebrate them very often, right? Or at all. As I can totally attest to this. I'm not very good at it because I am high achieving. I want to do a lot of things in my life. And as you say, that goal keeps kind of maybe getting a little bit bigger as I move down, you know, down the stepping stones of my journey. But it's so important to, as you're saying, to acknowledge where you've come from and to acknowledge those steps that you have taken and what you have learned and celebrate it. Right. And that celebration can look so different for different people, but it is so important to look at those and go, hey, I did it.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I did that a year
and
ago.
To own it.
Exactly. And tell people about it. Be in the present moment, you know, and because so often we're out in the future or we're back way in the past ruminating on things that we don't need to ruminate on. And once again, I'm saying this from personal experience because I'm very good at that.
Definitely. Me too, Tess. Me too. Ruminating is definitely high up there on one of my achievements.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I was just wondering, maybe we should just, in case people don't know what SMART goals is, maybe we could just kind of say now what that is, and then maybe we could just put a little explanation in the edit notes as well. So for those people that don't know, so a SMART goal is something that's specific, something that's measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bounded as well. And for me personally, I think the achievable and the realistic ones are the most important things that if that SMART goal, because we want people to be able to achieve, because that does so much for someone's confidence and self-esteem as well. And we want it to be realistic because just using that word before that I'm not too keen on, but we don't want people to fail. So we don't want ourselves to fail as well, do we? So we don't want to be setting these goals that are really, really high and there's no little stepping stones in between.
I agree. It needs to be achievable. It needs to be realistic. And we need to meet ourselves where we're at, right? We need to meet ourselves where we're at. And so often, because of our social constructs, we're like, no, we have to get somewhere else. And that's not the way to happiness, because you're living someone else's version of happiness, maybe not your own. And B, you're not acknowledging where you are in the present moment, which is a beautiful moment. And it comes back to this self-study. It comes back to, okay, where are you now? Understanding where you are now, meeting yourself with that compassion so that you can take those small steps that lead you onto this much grander, beautiful path. But they're smart, they're achievable, they're realistic. And you can take that step. You can take that first step. You can take that second step when you're ready for it. And that second step might look different after you take that first step.
Yeah, things can change and that's okay. Definitely. You know, our plans don't always work out the plan in the end, and that's okay. We can have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
We can have alphabet plans.
Maybe that could be a new tool.
Maybe it could. Yeah, no, I think it's important, this idea that we're meeting ourselves where we're at, we're taking those small steps and going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, starting to listen to how we're talking to ourselves and that critical voice that isn't supportive, and starting to reframe how we're talking to ourselves. And so I am curious, Sarah, what do you think would be a good, way to start doing that, to start that first little step of changing that critical voice?
Yeah, so something that we want to offer, Tess, into is something we've referred to as a happy edit tool. So at the end of each episode, we're going to offer a happy edit tool for everybody to try if they wish to. So something that I think is really important is for us to maybe just think about, whether that's in the morning or evening or both, or at some point during the day, some things that might bring us happiness, or that are bringing us happiness in that moment. So something that we want to invite people to do is maybe think about five things that bring you happiness. So what we were thinking is maybe we're going to give a little example of something maybe this morning that has brought us happiness. So just sitting down this morning and having a cup of tea before we kind of came online to do our podcast. Just brought me a little bit of happiness. And it's sunny, and I live in Manchester, and this is a rare occasion. So it's sunny and it's dry, and I can see some daffodils that have just got some flowers on.
I love it. So I'm actually really happy because it's raining a little bit today. And where we are in our studios, unfortunately, there's some pretty terrible fires going on right now. And so my hope is that this little bit of rain that we're getting is going to start dampening some of those horrific fires. So quite on the opposite. Usually I'm happy when it's sunny, but today I'm very happy that it's raining, and I hope that we get a little bit more rain as well. And to everyone else in his studios that may be listening to it and you're like, no, I want the sun. I get it. I totally get it. But we need the rain. We do need the rain. Something else that made me happy this morning is being able to have a little lie-in and just kind of lounge in my bed for a bit this morning. This week I've been getting up quite early. We just had the time change, so that was a bit painful. And so then this morning I was like, oh, I can just have a little lie here. I don't have to, get up straight away. I can slowly get up, take a shower, make my cup of tea, and just relax. Which this week has not had that. So it's been so nice.
Definitely. And it's just those little things, isn't it? It's not big gestures that we're thinking. It's just those little things. So yes, we would like to invite people to think of maybe 5, but it doesn't have to be 5. It could be 3, 2, it could be 1 thing that we bring us happiness.
Exactly. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to hearing how the Happy Edit tool works for you this week. So if you're interested in sharing that with us, you can come onto social media. There are links to the social media in the show notes. But I'm on Instagram at Tess Jewell-Larsen, Facebook, Tess Jewell-Larsen coaching, I should say. And Sarah, where can they find you?
So if you go to the show notes, there are some, there's my website there as well. So you can email me through the website. I'm in the process of starting the Instagram, but I'm a bit of a dinosaur. So Tess is going to help me when we come to visit in a few days over in Spain. So she's going to help me, show me how to set up Instagram. And I have got an Instagram page. I just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, that's another thing that makes me happy. Oh my goodness, you guys are going to be here in just a few days.
Yay! Yay!
I'm so excited. So excited. Yes. So we're getting this whole social media thing worked out. Hopefully we'll have a proper the Happy Edit podcast social media set up in a few weeks, but that might not be by the time that this comes out. So bear with us, it's coming. And yeah, let us know how you've enjoyed the episode, and let us know how the Happy Edit tool has gone for you this week. And we look forward to continuing on this journey of finding what happiness means through different lenses.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
At the Happy Edit podcast, we're mindful that the podcast is not in replacement of therapy. If you do need further support, please do contact us on our contact details in the show notes. And we're more than happy to offer further support and guidance and direct you to places like the counselling directory or therapy directories. If you do also need further support, we would also recommend you contacting your primary healthcare provider. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you all soon.